Well, I want to thank CNN and MSNBC, the Washington Post, yes, even the New York Times. I want to thank the Stalinists over there at Mediaite and the Marxists over there at Media Matters. I want to thank all these radical left-wing hate America sites for all their efforts to kill my book. The Democrat Party Hates America. If you look at these sites, which I really don't like to do, but people send me links, right, Mr. Producer? So I look, I cringe, and I delete. They're pushing other books. They're pushing their Joe Scarborough narratives. They're trashing every single Republican, trying to make them look stupid and uninformed. Oh, we got that one. Oh, I caught that one. Oh. And yet today I can announce to you that The Democrat Party Hates America is #1 book in the country. Nonfiction, hardcover, and ebooks. And I know over there at the New York Times they're collectively grinding their teeth, as they are every time I have a new book. And so they have actually pretended the book doesn't exist. Period. They keep pushing this Cassidy Hutchison book, this David Wolf book. They always do these gossip books because, you know, they're serious media sites that believe in substance, and they want to know if Matt Gaetz and this Cassidy Hutchison actually dated. These are the perverts at Mediaite, the Stalinists, the Leninists, the Marxists. Although I wonder if they're even smart enough to be that. I want to thank you in this audience. I am blessed by you. Just a huge number of people who are concerned about this country and want to do everything they can to save it from the Democrat Party and their media and quasi-media surrogates who are out to take it down and think this is all very funny. It's not very funny. And you folks understand that. We sold 160,000 copies, 130,000 hard copy, 30,000 audio and ebooks. #2 wasn't even close. Now, we're not going to be #1 every week. We may not be #1 the following week. It doesn't really matter, does it? What matters is that as many people as possible inform themselves about the most poisonous, evil party in the country, which has been the most poisonous, evil party in the country since it came into existence. And as I say at the beginning of the book, this book isn't written for these people. It's written for you. In fact, the very first sentence in the book, I make the point. As I turn to it, let's see here. This book is not intended to be provocative, but in the Democrat Party-centric parts of our society, and undoubtedly will be. That said, it's not written for Democrat Party officials, politicians, media, sycophants, activists, and surrogates. It's written for those patriotic Americans who fear for our country and its future. America's unraveling. Our founding and history under assault. Our families and faiths are being degraded. And so that is the objective of the Democrat Party, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be happening. It wouldn't be happening. Now, I want to encourage many of you to go over to Mediaite.com to make the most over-the-top comments, not with filth and curse words, just very aggressive, brutal comments about that website. And if I remember, the next day, 2, maybe next week, I will compile 5 to 10 of them. Because this is now the new journalism. 5 to 10 of them. Out of thousands of comments, I'll compile 5 to 10 of them to push the narrative that I want to push. that this is a sleazy operation by Dan Abrams and the squirrel that is permanently glued to his head. And Colby Hall, if that is his name. Colby! Mama's calling you, Colby. Come out of the basement. Time to take a shower. It's been 3 weeks, Colby. Yeah, that guy. We want to give them the attention that they crave on the show. Why? Because I enjoy it. That's why. But if you even take a quick look at their site, it's okay. One day of hits where they say, look at us, as they go to their sponsors and investors. Look at the hits we took here. I know exactly what I'm doing. You can see what a sleazeball operation is. A Stalinist operation. But let's do this. Let's show them how it works. Because our audience is many times larger than their readership. And we can have fun. What's that? Comment under their Twitter, Mr. Producer says. So go to their Twitter. What is it? Mediaite.com or something? At Mediaite. Go to at Mediaite. And have a good time. And Mr. Producer will pull half a dozen to a dozen of the most clever, brutal attacks on that subsidized website. This former Congressman Walsh, I want to talk to you directly. You're the biggest a-hole who has ever crawled on 4 legs on the planet. You run as a Tea Party candidate. You lose. Then look at you. You're a pathetic lump of stupidity. Then you go on cable TV, where you trash any Republican who doesn't back you and the stupid-ass things that you have to say. And if you find a judge, here we have a judge in New York who decides there'll be no jury trial, a judge in New York who values Mar-a-lago for $18 million, which is nuts. You have a prosecutor in New York who should be disbarred for the way she campaigned and conducted herself under the rules of professional conduct in New York. And Walsh, Mr. Former Tea Party, now syphilitic fool, what do they mean by Stalinism? Locking up people and executing them? This is the stupidity you have to deal with on the left. But we're going to have fun with this. And I am going to have fun with this. And we will pull together, Mr. Producer. We'll get the most brutal comments. And then I will write a tweet about the brutality that Mediaite, a.k.a. Mediocreite, has received for its very existence. What kind of a stupid thing? It's okay. I'm going to demonstrate it. I can tell you right now the book industry is pretty flat. They're doing everything they can to push this Cassidy Hutchinson. She's all over CNN. She's all over MSNBC. She's all over the Sunday shows. She's quoted all over the so-called news media. Why? Because she's a Trump hater. And she's saying things that are really quite unbelievable. Quite unbelievable. Things that she saved for her book. I don't write books about me. So this is her one chance to make a few shekels. And we see this with others. Flash in the pan. And these other flash in the pan types, they're always pushed by the same media. Somebody remember this guy Anonymous writing stuff? That was absolute BS, and New York Times is promoting it in their pages? Maybe you remember Russia collusion? Day in, day out, year after year. What do you mean by Stalinism? An official report done by Durham shows you Stalinism? Are you trying to set up a candidate? This is all fine by the Democrat Party. In fact, they're proving the damn point. The Democrat Party is bigger than a party. It's bigger than a party. It's a typical autocratic party. It's a party that seeks to devour the culture, and is. It's a party that seeks to come between the parent and their students and their kids and the school and their family, and it is. It's a party that is destroying the nuclear family, and it is. It's a party that's destroying our border and citizenship, and it is. It's a party that despises free market capitalism and supports industrial policy coming out of Washington, D.C., which is both insane, but it is. It is a party that wants loyalty to the party, not the country. And their media demonstrate day in and day out the way they report, the way they interpret news, that they're all in. They've got no problem with this judge in New York. So what? No jury trial. So what? There he is in New York, and he takes Letitia James's valuation, essentially, of Mar-a-Lago at $18 million. It's got to be worth $250,000. All you have to do, folks, is go online. Take a look at the various real estate links. I did this morning and took a look at it. You got properties selling for $35 million, $40, $45 million that are not even close to what Mar-a-Lago is. It's all the judge had to do, but he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. You got crime in the streets. Democrat Party is responsible for it. You've got kids that can't get out of crime-ridden schools, many of whom are not even proficient in basic language skills, mathematical skills. They're going to have disastrous futures in their lives. Democrat Party's doing it. They won't allow school choice, and they're supported by their media. And of course, I wrote an entire book on unfreedom of the press about their media. How many people? Here's a challenge to Colby. Colby, if that is your name, your mother must have hated you. Must have despised you, Colby. Why don't you tell us the political affiliation of your entire staff? Remember all the January 6th reports on the tweets and the emails among and between Trump staffers and so forth, how excited they got about it in the media? So I challenged Mediaite, why don't you release all the texts of the same period of time that you folks write amongst each other? Let's take a look and see what you wrote. Of course, they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it because everything I say about them is correct. Before January 6, NBC News reports, the FBI predicted extremists would be very willing to take action over a 2020 election dispute. Really? 1 week before the election in 2020, and just over 2 months before the January 6th attack on the Capitol, they report, an internal FBI analysis concluded that domestic violent extremism, that is, extremists, were very willing to take action in response to a disputed election, but that law enforcement preemption, quote-unquote, and the disorganization of the extremist groups, quote, likely would hinder widespread violence. So what did the FBI do about it? Almost nothing. Almost nothing. The so-called Red Cell report, let's see here, was titled Alternative Analysis, Potential Scenarios for Reactions of Domestic Violent Extremists to a Disputed 2020 U.S. Presidential Election. NBC News obtained a redacted copy. In response to a disputed election, domestic violent extremists are very willing to take action, but their capabilities to do so remain low, largely due to disorganization. It goes on and on and on. Again, what did they do? Almost nothing. Trump offered to do more than the FBI did. 10,000 troops. That's pretty good. 10,000 troops. So the FBI knew that potential violence was stirring long before Donald Trump spoke on January 6th. Long before Donald Trump spoke on January 6th.